you doing? Welcome back to Leather Helmet Fandom Podcast. Today, you will be joined by myself, Caleb Consman, and
Josh Consman.
My brother. I'm back. It's a good day. It's going into week 3. We're on Saturday. We're going to give you some hot bets and some locks, some spreads. But before we jump into that, Josh,
I'm just going to
review the last week's week 2 bets.
All right, so these are all going to be my solo bets from my cast last week. So I pretty much went 50 for 50 and saved myself with a live bet in the Monday night's game to get myself at positive units. So just quickly going through it, went 2 for 1 on the spreads. Rams screwed me with their really bad punt play that ended in a touchdown for the Colts because it hit one of their players. It is awful to watch because it should have been an easy win. But I got the Bears a negative 1.5 hit and the Pats negative 5.5 hit really easily versus the Jets. My over-under for Packers and Lions, I took the over 48.5. Again, hit very easily once Rodgers got going in the second half and blew up. So on the props, so I missed out on Jonathan Taylor going over 2.5 receptions. Tony Jones Jr. under 8.5 rushing attempts was very, very good hit. He only had 4 rushing attempts. Granted, the game changed a lot and the Saints were down. David Montgomery, I missed on by 3 yards. He went at 61 yards. I had him over 64.5. AB, Antonio Brown, went under 5.5. He only had 1 catch. So that was a good hit. James Conner, definitely got way too hype on probably his manly run and stiff arm in week 1. But he went under 34.5 rushing yards. Clyde's longest rush was under 13.5, so I hit on that. Honestly, that's one that I think I'm going to be riding all season. Laviska Shenault did have a rushing yard, but he had no yards. So I missed out on his over 0.5 rushing yards.
Didn't happen? I remember you were telling me.
And he had a rushing attempt. I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
Did he get negative?
No, he literally had 0. He got to the line of scrimmage. I'm like, all right, this is great. Yeah. So a lot of close calls. Could have had a really good week, but it was slowly going downhill until I tweeted out on all our socials a FanDuel boost that they did at halftime for the Lions and Packers game. They had it for 2 touchdowns total had to be scored in the second half.
Third quarter.
No, just the whole second half.
I thought it was the third quarter you posted.
No, it was you could check it.
Okay.
I swear the boost was insane.
That's
I'm like,
wild.
all right, they're just giving money out, and they had a plus 200 odds. So I'm like, all right, put 6 units on it, and because of that, I ended the week 2 at 7-5 overall with a plus 7.5 units. So great week, mainly just because I saved myself with the live bet. Overall in the year, I'm at plus 23.9 units. Caleb only had the 1 week to get some bets in, so he's still at negative, but he's looking for a bounce back. He's at negative 4.5. So combined, we're just over 19 units, 19.4 units. If you followed all of our bets, which is very, very good for anybody who's a consistent sportsbook follower. So getting right into this week, we'll start off with our props for the week. So what you got, Caleb, for your first prop?
So my first prop is obviously with my Steelers. We got Deontay Johnson out with an injury. So I took a look into some numbers with all the other players when Johnson is out, and Washington is the guy who fills in perfectly. His snap percentage goes from like 20% to like 70, 80%. So with that alone, I wanted to look into Washington. So I took a little bit of deeper dive. And when Johnson has 60% or less snaps, which is 8 games total in his career, and Washington gets 50% or more snaps, he averages 37.75. Right now, I'm taking his over at 35.5 yards, at minus 115 for 2 units. And obviously 37.75 yards averaging per games when Johnson is 60% or less played is very, very close. But I can just see them game scripting around around Washington more, because in the beginning of the years, a lot of the games that Johnson was Deontay Johnson was taking, it was because he hit a very, very good year that year, and Washington kind of just like fell off and was dropping stuff. And the past year, last year, Washington was actually taking a step up, and anyone that follows Steelers a lot knows that Washington has been taking step by step, just moving up on our roster. He's probably never, ever going to go past our main three. But the thing is that Ben relies on him, and he always goes for, like, deep throws. That's his, like, number one thing is deep passes. He usually probably gets, like, 20-yard, maybe even take his over on his longest yard. I don't know what that is, longest catch. But either way, I'm taking him at 35.5 over, and he also averages 32 yards versus the Bengals out of all the meets that he's done, and that's including his rookie year, which he barely even played at all. I think he had one game with zero yards and like 20% or something like that he played. So
do you know
with all those downs,
like how many years he's been in the league? I feel like it's got to be 4 or 5, right? 4? Oh, so he's still pretty young.
Yeah, and the thing is he got drafted, and then the next year he got drafted when Antonio Brown was still there. That was his rookie year.
Yeah.
And then AB left, and then they drafted Johnson. So then Johnson took his place because he was way better. We obviously know that. But obviously he's out this game. So it was Johnson, Juju, and then he was the third. And then we drafted Claypool the year after, and we all know how fast Claypool
I would say it seems that the backup, Rudolph, is it?
Yeah.
Seems to like Washington too.
Yeah, they went to the same college.
Oh, exactly. So just in case Ben comes out early or surprise doesn't start because of his pec injury, I would actually boost that prop even more with Rudolph in.
Well, that's another thing too. Is like I know he goes deep down the field. That's when he makes most of his big splash plays. That's when people are like, "Oh yeah, Washington still got it," because he gets like these big splash plays. Yeah. But he also just like is a very big yak person. He's a big overall dude for a wide receiver. He's got a really short ass neck and it looks kind of awkward, but I'm gonna go with that one as my first prop bet. 2 units, -115. James Washington over 35.5 yards. Bounce over to you, Josh. What do you got?
All right, so I'm gonna start off with a sleeper prop bet that a lot of people aren't going to be on, but I like it this week. So I got Gerald Everett at over 22.5 receiving yards.
What was it? 22?
22.5. So pretty much about 2 receptions is all you're going to need. Maybe 3. But most likely if he gets 2 receptions, he's going to hit this number.
And who do they play this week?
So that's what I like probably the most is they play the Vikings this week.
Okay.
The Vikings so far this year have gave up over 650 yards between the first 2 games. And if you looked at their match or who they played last week was the Cardinals. The Cardinals had Max Williams. The Vikings allowed the Cardinals Max Williams tight end that nobody knows.
I don't know who that is.
Exactly. Go 7 for 7 and 96 yards.
Sheesh.
This man's been in the league for 6 years, and he's only gone over 50 yards twice in his career. He's never had over 4 receptions his whole career. Like, it's just...
Has he even been in the league that long?
Yeah, he's been in the league 6 years, I said.
Oh, I didn't hear part.
Yeah,
that's wild.
6 years. And now he shows up.
Don't they have a 2-end split, though? 2 tight end split?
I know they got rid of Dan Arnold, who used to be there, who was a pretty big tight end. He went to the Panthers. So I think he might be the top catching tight end there, if not like the only one who really gets snaps, because they use a lot of 3 wide receiver sets in that offense.
Right.
And it's very fast paced. But just the fact that the Vikings have done this 2 weeks in a row, like I just think there's so much potential with Russell Wilson throwing the ball to see a huge passing game and a lot of points put up. So I really like him. I also like Gerald Everett because he hasn't showed up that much since he's been on the Seahawks, his first 2 weeks in the Seahawks, but he's actually ran the 7th most routes among all tight ends in the league, all the NFL. So his potential's there. He just needs to see a little bit more targets, and I think he will see that in a game that's going to be high scoring and a really weak secondary in the Vikings. But that's my first prop. I have it at 1 unit at -115 odds.
Okay. So we're both right there, 115. You got the over on his yards. I got the over on Washington's yards. My next one is Najee Harris. I think he's going to get a touchdown. It's an anytime touchdown. I got it at minus 125. I think that's boosted a lot. I don't think it should be that high or low. How would you say that?
I would say that low.
Yeah, it should be either way. You should be getting more money for your buck in that situation. But it is what it is. I really feel strong about this one. Not super strong, but I'm going to leave it at 1 unit. Again, Deontay Johnson is out, and he actually averages like 5 to 7 touchdowns per year with the team since he's been there. So he is a very touchdown targeted player. And the thing is Najee is still just getting into the groove of the new team and running the ball a lot more. His attempts are going up. He didn't get a touchdown the first week, got a touchdown the second week. He actually had a shot the first week, but it didn't happen. So also you were talking about Ben's injury, Ben's pectoral hurting or whatever is happening with it. He's not a mobile quarterback, so he won't be running out of the pocket trying to get yards. So if anything, he's going to dink and dunk and then throw it to Najee Harris, and then
James Conner.
give it off to Najee Harris to run it. But either way, the peck thing helps a lot too. If he's not trying to throw it down the field, we all know that Ben can throw it down the field, just not super accurate. And if he even feels a little bit hesitant to throw down the field, he's probably not going to. And if you see Najee Harris right there, right over the line, then you can just dunk it off to him, or they could just run a script to run it in. So I'm going to take Najee Harris anytime TD minus 125 at 1 unit. What do you got?
All right, so next I'm going to go with a special prop that you might only find on DraftKings. That's where I found it. Most likely you'll only find there. But it's the Bucks-Rams game. So they have it as any player to score 2+ touchdowns. And I put it as a no because on the yes, the odds are negative 170. So I think it's very likely that 2 touchdowns will be scored by one player. I say the no is a lot more likely to happen.
What game is this again?
So this is the Bucks and Rams game.
Okay.
I think a lot of people are thinking it's going to be a shootout. And it does have the potential to be there.
Why would they have it favored towards one player having 2 touchdowns? There's so many people that could get touchdowns.
That's exactly how I think too. Like there's just so much room to spread the ball out between both offenses.
Brown's out.
The only thing I could see them boosting it or having the odds so favored and no is because of Gronk scoring 2 touchdowns. 2 weeks in a row.
A good one.
But I just can't see that consistently happening.
Say either him or Evans. I could see Evans getting 2 TDs with Brown out.
Yeah, it's still possible. I just think the odds are in the favor of no, yet they have it the opposite. So that's something I definitely want to take advantage of. I just think there's too many weapons, and I think the defense, even though the secondary in the Bucks is weak, I think there's going to be more room to see the ball spread out because they won't have to rely on Kupp's yards after catch to really get yards. They'll actually have Woods open as slant or Higbee open in a post or even like another crossing route in the touchdown. I think it's just going to be a lot of options for Stafford, and they're really going to take advantage of that. And then on the other end, the Rams defense is it's pretty underrated. Like it's dangerously good. And I think they can keep most of the people in check, especially Gronk, because he's slowly aging across the field, trying to get that easy catch by using his height. But I think their secondary can definitely handle it. But I have that at 1.5 units at plus 130.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think it's a really good bet. Honestly, it was borderline like something I would want to put as a lock.
You said plus 130 at what units?
1.5 units.
Okay. Now that you're talking about that too, I feel like people think it's going to be a high-scoring game with 2 great offenses, but these are also 2 pretty good damn defenses.
Yeah.
So
that's why I like
the
under
55, almost. Dude, 55 and a half. You're taking that under. I kind of like that under. I'm not going to leave it as a bet, but
yeah. I wouldn't put anything on it, but it's a good.
If you really want to and you want to explore, you just you want to have over under bet. I actually really like that one because I don't think it's going to be that high scoring game. It can be. Don't get me wrong. It can get out of hand. Just like when I thought the Browns and Chiefs game could go under. I could definitely get out of hand, but I could definitely easily see this game. I mean, look at it. The Super Bowl happened when he was with Patriots. Patriots was another good defense. Rams was a great defense that time. I think it was 2019, and it was a very low scoring Super Bowl. So.
And Aaron Donald is going to be looking for like he's never had a sack versus Brady.
Damn, I didn't know that.
So he's going to really be looking for his first sack, hunting him down.
That's pretty sad. But then again, Brady just throws it the second someone fucking
he's smart about it.
Blinks an eye. He's like, oh shit, get it out. Anyway, moving on to the next prop. Where do I want to go with this one? I guess we'll just go to Kyler Murray over 282.5 yards. 12 out of his 32 games that he's played, it's went over. Obviously, that's not more than half, but it's up there as far as how much his team has improved. And you might think like, oh, well, who are they playing again this week? I should probably know
Cardinals?
this. Yeah. The Cardinals are playing.
Honestly.
Cardinals are playing shitty team. Oh, Jaguars. So they're playing Jaguars. Yeah. So people might think it's a blowout, so he's not going to throw as much. But I looked into his numbers, and he's hit on his over on this number more versus shit teams than good teams. But that's also from last year's, which his defense was not even comparable to this year's. And like I said, he got Green now. He's never had Hopkins. What one year last year? I think it was possibly 2 now.
Hopkins?
Yeah,
I think this is his second year.
Okay, but either way, he goes over his passing yards more versus shitty teams than good defenses and good teams. So don't think it's gonna be game stripped. Like, oh yeah, he's not gonna go over because he's playing a horrible team and they're gonna have the lead the entire time and run the ball. Because that's not how they do it. Kyler Murray always loves to escape the pocket and throw the ball and make big, huge plays, even if it's with his feet, and gets the yards. Plus, they might run a lot there, but I feel like they don't.
No, they definitely don't.
So
they're set up
very pass
a lot of
offense.
3 wide receiver sets, and they're really not good at rush blocking.
And the tight also the last 2 games this season, he's already gone over it. I think the one was like 300 something he got, and the other one was like 290 or something.
About this year?
This year, he's already.
I know he hit one game for 400 versus the Vikings.
Okay, that's what it is. Then the 400.
That's what I mean. The Vikings.
Yeah. But either way, he's hit it over both times already, and they're going versus another shitty offense. So as long as they don't blow them out like crazy, I think it should be a good bet. So I'm gonna take it at 1 unit minus 115, and that's pretty much all I got for my props. You got any other props? I got a few, don't you?
Yeah, I got plenty to run with. I'll definitely just pull out 2 more. Actually, we're gonna pull out 3 more. So the one, I'm just gonna do a repeat from my week 2 win. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, longest rush under 13.5. I'm gonna put it at 1 unit. I mean, the man had a 4.6 40-yard, and he just doesn't have the ability to really break tackles at his size. And, yeah, he just hasn't proved it. Like, week in and week out, this man does not have explosive plays. So I'm going to roll with that. One thing, I don't want to put a lot too money into it because I feel like he's getting overhyped. But Justin Fields gets his first starting game.
Is he starting?
In the NFL.
Yeah,
he's starting. No. Dalton's he's out.
Okay.
For this game.
That's good.
But Fields is starting. And I just feel like Matt Nagy's forced in position to draw up some plays for QB draws. Like, they're going to design for him to run. And we've seen him run in the preseason. Like, the man is a really good runner. I might be getting too emotional, but I just want to see it happen. So I have his longest rush of over 15.5 at 1 unit. Negative 105 yards.
15.5?
Yeah, you say that, but as long as he has an open field, like, I guarantee he can
juke. It's not going to be on the outsides. He has to go in the middle to get that.
You'll be surprised. Just wait.
All right.
Just wait.
Unless he's at like 3rd and 20, then I could see
it's going to be like a Lamar Jackson run to the outside. Like, he's going to juke one guy, get those extra 4 yards after the first down, and it'll be close, but I think he'll have at least one good long run. And like I said, I'm kind of more just hoping for it on the hype because it's going to be a sick play. But one I actually think is like I'm really confident for prop bets is Tyson Williams receiving yards. Last I checked on FanDuel has the lowest at over 10.5 yards for his receiving yards. So I have this at 2 units. Lamar's coming off of illness. He's not going to be completely himself. So he's going to look to his receivers and his running backs to help him out.
With his foot too?
Possibly. I just know he was coming off of illness and he was questionable even up to Friday. So they really didn't know. He obviously wasn't healing up as fast as you would think with just a normal bug. Tyson Williams hit these in his first 2 weeks. He's worst defense against the running back, the Detroit Lions, and he's averaging 8.7 yards per catch. So
as long as he gets the attempts or the targets.
As long as he gets 2 targets, I think he'll be perfectly fine. And I think he will, just because one, Lamar's coming off illness, and Brown, even though he is going to play, he was injured.
Marquise?
So, Marquise Hollywood Brown. So look to him to be a little hampered and not be as explosive, and then rely on their most explosive player, who is Tyson Williams.
Shit, I might like fucking Mark. If Brown's out, I might like Mark Andrews or Williams.
He's not out
anytime.
They said he's playing.
Okay,
but I just can't see him getting the targets like he did last week.
Right.
How about this? Would you rather have Tyson Williams put more money on Tyson Williams receiving yards, or more money on Kareem Hunt's receiving yards? Because I have both of them. Kareem Hunt's I only have 1.5, but I'm pretty confident. Like Landry's
over 1.5.
No, Kareem Hunt receiving yards over 14.5.
His longest one?
No, just total.
Oh, fucking give me that any day, bro.
That's what I was thinking. I mean, he was having
I'm writing that down actually right
yeah,
now.
yeah, and Landry's out.
Yeah,
OBJ is on his first game.
OBJ sucks nowadays.
Yeah, and it's his debut game. Like, is he really going to blow up? I mean, it's possible, but even if he does, like, I feel like Mayfield's favorite target is going to be Hunt in this game. Like, who's it going to be? Hunt or Hooper as a leading target person? You know what I mean? And I actually think the Bears keep the game close. So I think they're not just going to completely rush into them and rush and run Chubb. And even if they do, like if they pull a lead out, they're known for using Hunt late in the game because they're like, why do we risk our top guy in Chubb?
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I really like that. I mean, Hunt's been known as a receiving back. So it's more about just getting the attempts.
So you just went over 2, possibly 3. I forget now. Which ones are you adding into it, and how much units per each?
Did you talk about Tyson and Kareem?
Yeah.
So Tyson, I had
talk about one other one before that too.
Yeah. So the other one was just I had Allaire. They all were 1 unit for the first 2. So Justin Fields, the hype one, 1 units. Clyde Edwards-Helaire under 13.5 for his longest rush. Had it 1 units. Honestly, I'm for the rest of the year, I'm betting that. As long as it stays at 13.5, I'm betting that under 13.5 every single game, and I bet you it hits like at least 12 out of the 17 games. His longest rush, Clyde.
Oh, okay.
It already hit, and I feel like it's going to hit at least 70% of the games. So I'm definitely on that every week at 1 unit. Tyson, 2 units.
So you're at 4 right there.
And Kareem Hunt, 1.5 units.
All right, so you got 4.5 units, all of them together.
Yeah, so those are definitely my top prop plays for the week.
Since you said that, I'm going to put Hunt's over receiving yards, whatever you had it, at 3 units, because I actually really like that. I can't believe they have it there, especially with, like you said, Landry being out. Yeah, there's really no other, like, even if, like, he spreads the ball to his tight ends or something, like, honestly, I think if he doesn't know who he's throwing to, he's not going to throw the ball, and he's not going to do it successfully. Like, he's I'm talking about Baker, is a very chemistry guy. Like,
oh yeah, 100%.
All he does is like chemistry, and they obviously run the script to run.
One thing I'll note is people.
Do they play too?
It might be why it might be so high. I really doubt it that the sports books would do this, but Nelton, their 3rd string running back, had a 35-yard reception touchdown, or maybe even 40 yards last game.
That's nothing. That's a one-time thing.
That's what I was saying.
Come over.
It is a little weird to note because he did get a decent amount of snap percentage, like 10 to 15, and Kareem Hunt.
See, but if he didn't get that yardage, if he didn't get like that completion and that yardage, like no one would be even talking about it.
No.
You're just gonna sweep it under the rug.
Something to note.
So as far as props, I got 3, 2, 5, 6, 7. I got 7 units on props. How many you got?
I got 1 unit, 1.5. That's 2.5, 3.5, 4.5, 6. I got 8 units on the props I went over so far.
7 and 8. Let's move on to what do you want to do? Spreads? Or
over-unders? We can do spreads or over-unders. Doesn't matter.
I only got 1 over-under and I got 2 spreads. So let's do spreads. My first spread, I don't got much written down on this. It's just how I felt towards the games. My first one's Chargers versus KC. I got the Chargers at +7. I'm at -110, and I'm going to put 2 units on that one. I don't think Chargers are going to let this game get away from them, and to be honest, I could see them
What was the spread again?
+7.
Okay.
I don't know if it's moved since then. I did this yesterday on Friday, so maybe it moved a little bit, but I liked it at +10, -110, 2 units I'm putting on it. I just can't see the Chargers letting this game get away from them. And even if it does get away from them, I could see them easily bringing it back and not losing by 7. I feel like that's a very far spread for Chargers. I know Chargers do have some injuries on their defense, but I just, for some reason, like I said, like this game being high scoring, being back and forth nonstop. If anything, KC's down and brings it back like they always do in the second half or even like the second quarter, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna take +7 Chargers, -110, 2 units. Who you got?
So I got a decent amount of spreads this week. I think I just like the underdogs a lot this week. So one I really like is actually my top spread of the week is the Bears at +7.5 versus the Browns at -120 odds. So I got that for 3 units in. I just think the Bears defense is much, much better than what they've shown versus the Rams. It's a lot more like how you've seen in week 2. So Browns without Landry, and they're going to be relying on OBJ, who's coming off his first debut start since his ACL tear. I just can't see him having a breakout week and throwing for 300 yards in Mayfield. But I think the Bears, between Khalil Mack and Hicks, they'll be able to get pressure on Mayfield, and he'll have to rely on the run as much as possible, which will work into the Bears' favor because I think the Bears have they don't have a better offensive line, but I think they have a better matchup versus offensive line and their running backs versus the Browns' defensive line, vice versa if you're comparing the defensive line of the Bears versus the offensive line of the Browns.
Right.
So I think they'll be able to keep the game really close. Browns struggled against Texans in week 2. Even after the Texans lost Tyrod Taylor, I mean, they only won by...
Texans been showing up, though. I can't...
Yeah, I mean,
how
they're
much
definitely
people have been bashing them.
Playing well, but
team.
It's just the fact that they don't have weapons or talent, really.
Besides Cook.
Who?
Cook. My man's been showing up year after year after year, no matter where he goes. Cook on Texans.
Oh, Cooks.
Yeah, Cooks, whatever.
Like Cooks.
Same shit. Add an S on
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I mean, he's like the best underrated receiver in the NFL who just keeps getting dumped from team to team. But besides him, there's literally almost nothing there. Like their next top receiver is like Anthony Miller. Like, are you serious?
Yeah. He was like a third wide receiver in Bears.
But regardless, like the fact that game was that close, now I can get the Bears spread at +7.5, which is a 10 times better team with a rookie who seems to be explosive in Justin Fields. Like,
really at 7.5?
No, I think they have it at +7, but I moved. It might even be the alternate. I took a +7.5 to get to -120 odds, but it's just crazy how much points they're giving them in the spread because I think this game is going to be super close, and the most it'll be is a one possession game at the end. This pretty much goes hand in hand with my Justin Fields prop. Like I think Justin Fields is going to get that hit just like Tyrod Taylor got that hit. He had a 15-yard run for a touchdown versus
Higher
the
ups,
Browns.
man.
So I like rushing QBs versus the Browns and just how they're going to scheme it up on defense versus Mayfield without his top weapon out there. You got any other spreads you said?
So
no?
what's the units you got on that?
3 units.
Okay, that was just on the Browns versus Bears game, right?
Yep, Bears plus 0.75,
high,
plus 7.5.
All right, I got one more spread. It is Seahawks versus Vikings. I like the Hawks on this at -2. I only got at 1 unit. I'm not like super on it, but I wanted to look for another spread just because I actually like spreads, and I feel like if you're gonna make it that close of a spread, and I already like Seahawks winning just in general money line, then I'll take them at the 2. At that point, you're basically getting a pick 'em. So I'll take the Seahawks every day. Like you said, their defense is really nothing to shy, or it should be shied away from. It's nothing really. So I think Russell Wilson will be able to throw all over them. I think Carson has been looking phenomenal. He's been showing up. So he'll do what he has to do. Vikings, don't get me wrong, they have a pretty damn good offense, and they got weapons all over. So I can see it being a close game, but the thing is I can see the Seahawks pulling away with the win. And if you get me at -2 and at -2, then the win by a field goal, I'm all there for that. So that's it for my spreads.
I really like that one, actually. I heard recently that Russell Wilson's 7-0 versus the Vikings, and he's 3-0 versus Kirk Cousins. So unless you're trying to just fade the flow and how much he's been killing them in his career, which I don't think is going to go away because of the Vikings defense has just been not showing up this year at all.
Yeah, I think just
I would say I don't have him in my props, but one player I think is going to blow up this year that hasn't really had a blow up game yet is DJ Metcalf. I think he's going to blow up and take the
all this stuff's probably like
it's high,
inflated though.
I think I was looking at it and it was just as high as Lockett's. It was in like the 80s. I'm like, that's kind of high, but like I really think he could have a 100-yard game this week. All right, that's all your spreads for the week.
Yeah, it's my spreads. Like I said, I only got 1 over/under. I don't know if you have an over/under. Do you have?
So I still got some spreads.
Okay.
I'm gonna give one more spread analysis, and then I'm just gonna run through my other spreads in the units.
Like that many spreads?
Yeah. I don't love them, but yeah, I do actually. So we're just gonna roll with them. So I got my next one that I really like is the Ravens. So this is an alternate spread, not the one you're gonna see on the homepage.
Okay.
Ravens -6.5. Versus the Lions at -140.
I like that a little bit better.
I like this a lot just because the Ravens have a really, really good defense, even without Marcus Peters, who's out for the season. But yeah, they just have a really solid, stout defense. What was I saying?
Their defense, Ravens defense, you like?
Yeah. So, and I think the Lions, even though they have potential, which they've been showing versus comparable, like actually good teams, if you really look at the game and how it was going, the Lions have been down by 2 possession deficits going into the fourth quarter in both weeks.
They bring it back.
No, that's, well, not necessarily. Most of the time it's just garbage time. Like they almost sort of let back into the game. But they've just been down by a lot, and I don't see the Ravens giving up any points once they have the lead. I think they're going to rely on their good offensive lines, both on the D and offense, and they're just going to run the ball down their throat versus the worst ranked rushing and passing defense in the league. So I expect a blowout, and this should be an easy win.
One thing to take note on, too, is the whole AFC North is all 1-1, so this is whoever wins Steelers versus Bengals, so whoever wins that is going to be tied or take the lead in the division. So if Ravens really want to take the lead right now, this is their time to put their foot on the pedal and take lead as far as their division goes, because everyone's 1-1. So
gotcha.
Just a little note.
Yeah, and it'll be a good game to carry on their confidence, since they got a lot of confidence last week in beating the Chiefs in that close game. So I think they'll carry that over and just destroy the Lions. Hopefully they don't come in too confident because that's not a good sign versus the Lions offense that actually can move the ball. But yeah, I still like that. I think they're going to win by at least one touchdown. So I have that in at 1 unit. So I'm just going to run through all my other ones, not really explain them too much in the deep analysis, but I have the Cardinals versus Jags first half for the Cardinals, negative 4.5 spread, at plus 100 odds. I got 1 unit on that. I think the Cardinals are just going to explode on offense, and the Jags have really been struggling, and the Cardinals have a pass rush, so I can't see Lawrence keeping the game close in the first half. I got Bengals with the upset at plus 3.5. I really think they have a good chance to win this week, mainly because of the Steelers' injuries across the board between Deontay Johnson, T.J. Watt possibly missing the game, Ben Roethlisberger with a pec injury. I think they're really just going to struggle with a poor offensive line and injuries on top of that. It's going to be hard for them to really stop the Bengals offense going forward.
Now, is Higgins out or in?
Higgins, I believe, is out. I mean, he's put it doubtful, but I really think Tyler Boyd's just going to – I still think Tyler Boyd's the number 1 receiver there. He's going to have a really good game, probably 6-7 receptions. I mean, it could be a closer game just because I think it's going to be low scoring.
He's a slot guy, isn't he? So Bush is going to be all over him. Watt won't be. It would be Bush.
Let's look at the reception. Tyler Boyd's a stout receiver.
All right, we'll see.
He might not get yards after, but he'll
definitely not touching any props on Tyler Boyd, that's for sure.
But like I said, I think the game will be close. I think it'll be a typical division rivalry, hard defense.
Yeah, definitely.
And really fighting for it. But I like the Bengals to win this, so I'm going to take their spread, a positive spread of plus 3.5. Negative 120, I put 1.5 units on that. And my last spread is the Raiders, negative 4.5 versus the Dolphins. Pretty good odds at negative 104, so I have 2 units on that. I'm just not a big believer in Jacoby Brissett. I think he's like a poor man's Jameis Winston. He tries to play it safe for the most part and then throws bombs, but most of those bombs turn into interceptions.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that.
The Dolphins are just going to have a chemistry imbalance because we're pushing all for Tua, and I don't think they gave enough reps to Jacoby Brissett. As you could see when he came in, it was just a blowout for the Bills. They literally didn't put up a single point. How do you not score a single point when the other team's up 30 points and not carrying it all?
Now, if Tua was still playing, would you like this bet? We don't talk about it a lot, but would you or not?
I think I still would have took the Raiders. I wouldn't have took that high of a spread.
With Tua in it, I don't know what the Dolphins are. I think they could be very good, and I think they could be very shit.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I
think they're just above average as a team, but I think the Raiders are above average this year. Their defense has really been showing up in the pass rushing department, so I think they're going to put a lot of pressure on Jacoby Brissett and really force him to make the play down the field. So unless, what's his name in his debut, Fuller goes off.
Fuller's in his debut
For the Dolphins.
For real?
Yeah. Supposed to be playing this week. Last week he didn't play for personal issues.
I thought he was out because of taking steroids, wasn't he?
He was only out 1 week for that. And the second week he had a personal issue. So unless he has a really big game and goes for 150 yards, I just can't see the Dolphins winning without their defense doing pretty much the whole thing for them. Yeah, everything for them.
And the Raiders defense is looking pretty stout too. So
yeah. The only thing I don't love about the Raiders is the receivers. But I think Carr's good enough and Waller's good enough and safe to get the ball in the touchdown.
All right. You want to move it to
over-unders? Yeah, let's get into it.
All right. I'm just going to do my one and only one. Again, it's KC versus Chargers. Like I said before, I really think this game is going to be an over game.
Where are we looking at?
KC versus Chargers.
Oh, you have it over?
I have it over.
That's funny.
Why you have it under?
Yeah.
So,
I want to hear this. What we got?
I looked in their history, and they definitely have been more of the unders. They're divisional games, so obviously they're going to play a lot harder to each other defense-wise, so it might be low scoring. It's two stout QBs that never give up and always makes big splash plays over and over and over. And for that reason, with all the talent being there, I just like it. I'm only going at 2 units with it at -110. But I could easily see a game going like 24-32 KC. Even Chargers, I could see them winning the game 32-24, or just both of them scoring 27 plus 30 points each. Both are mobile quarterbacks, so they're going to extend plays. They're not really going to let much sacks happen. If they do, they're going to get rid of the ball. And it will also be able to extend the plays and make it move down the field a lot. I don't think they're both very rush-happy teams. I think Eckler is a great running back, but he's more of a pass back. And then you have, on the other side, you have Clyde that really hasn't done shit since he's been in the league, and they don't really run the ball at all. Obviously, you talked about their linebacker being back. Who was him?
Oh, Derwin James.
Derwin James. So he might lock down Kelsey, but I think Kelsey can get open and do whatever he wants. Also, who is it with injuries? Joey Bosa is questionable, and regardless if he plays or not, it's with his foot and ankle, so he's not going to be at the top of his game as a pass rusher, which only helps Mahomes. And then you have Chris Jones is questionable, which is Chiefs pass rusher, and that's his wrist, so that means he's not going to be able to explode off the line and push people off. So they're 2 pass rushers that are questionable. Most likely he will start because it's a wrist and an ankle, so they can just tape it up. But either way, it's not going to be the pass rushers at the 100%. Frank Clark is doubtful, which is another pass rusher of those KC. He doesn't really pass rush as much as Chris Jones, but he's definitely there too. So he's doubtful. Most likely he'll be out. And then Chris Harris Jr. is out. So their defenses on both sides of the fields are looking kind of less than what they are normally. Obviously, you have Derwin James coming back, so we'll see what he can do. If he's guarding Kelsey, then prayers out to him. I still think Kelsey's going to get his workload.
Yeah, but even without
Kelsey's going to do his
Kelsey
thing.
shut down, like you still have Hill.
Yeah, over the top explosiveness, it's just unreal. And then, like I said, they're both mobile quarterbacks. They're going to extend plays, get the ball to the right person. So that's why I feel like with the defenses being on the short end and the defenses being hurt, the main key guys that will stop this explosive big splash play QBs that are also mobile, with them being kind of hurting on the rails of starting or not, or playing or not at their full potential. That's why I'm taking the over. Plus, it's Chargers versus KC. Let's be honest, these are 2 great offenses, like I said, with a lot of talent on it. So I know I picked last week as my lock with Browns versus KC, and that obviously went way over. So let's try to flip the switch and go over, and it goes way over again with 54.5 total points at -110, 2 units.
All right, so I'll just go right into my counter argument. Okay. Since I got the under for that same game at 54.5, -108 odds, so a little bit better odds, not much better. But I have it at 3 units, so I'm about just as confident as you are.
If you're following us, you got to follow one of us. We're not screwing you.
Make your call. Let's see who's got the better argument. So pretty much what I got down is Chargers yet to have a game over 40 points this year. So both their games totals have been under 40 points, and that's not versus teams that are like not high scoring teams. Like this is versus the Cowboys. Yep. It was a 37-point total game. I also will say, note that Chiefs have allowed an average of 170 yards a game to their running back and over 5 yards per carry for every rusher against them. So I think, it's insane.
So Clyde might actually be able to do something?
No. I'm saying the Chiefs defense have allowed that. So anybody against the Chiefs can really run the ball well.
And with both their pass rushers being out. That's fucked.
So I think the Chargers are actually going to be able to run the ball a lot more than they initially normally do.
Eckler's outside hashtag.
So I just think it's going to take a lot of the time off the clock and a lot of the time out of Mahomes' hands, which is the most important part of beating the Chiefs is keeping the ball out of Mahomes' hands. As you saw last year, I think that everyone who tried beating them was like, oh, we're running the ball until we score. And I also love the Chargers defense, led by Derwin James, all-pro safety, who's actually healthy this year and looks great. So I think he minimizes explosive plays, especially in the middle of the field with Kelce. So because of that, I see it being close and competitive, which is the only thing that worries me about it going over is because it's going to be so close. Like, this game could potentially even go to overtime. But I see it in the 20s for both teams, and it just finishing out around the 40s or high 40s at most. But that's one over-under I like. Another one I really like is I'll take the over on this one, the Washington Bills game. So I have it over 44.5, a really low total points for a game at -120. So I have 2 units on that. I just think both teams have explosive players between McLaurin.
Washington versus who?
The Bills. So the Bills defense does look really good this year, but I just think the top players on each team are way too explosive to be like controlled by a good defense. Like, it's not like they have an all-pro. Well, they do have Tre'Davious White's still there, I believe. And he is a really good cornerback, but I don't think he's a shutdown cornerback. Like, I think McLaurin can still have a really good game, and I think Heineke is going to rely on him a lot.
They have it at 44?
Yeah, 44.5 over.
Yeah.
I have the over.
Pretty damn low.
And I think Washington's defense is a lot worse than people
it's just
thought.
because of Heineken's in there. That's the only reason they are making it this low.
Yeah, but he had such a good game in his debut week 2.
Yeah, but you also seen
game.
some plays that are very, very questionable. Like, why the hell are you doing this?
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I just feel like, even if I expect Heineken to make mistakes, like I can see 1 or 2 turnovers with him. But with that said, it's going to give good field position for the Bills to score. Yep. And if the Bills score and get an early lead, it's just going to have, which is I think what's going to happen. Yeah, he's going to sling it and try to rush to catch up, and they will score some points.
Makes sense.
So I can see like 30 to like the teens for the Washington. So with that said, I think they can easily get into the 40s and should push over to that 44.5.
My only worry will be is Washington's defense hasn't looked as good, but I do believe in them still as far as being like the top 3 defense.
Top 3?
Top 3.
Yeah, right. Not this year.
As far as talent stuff, I mean, unless some injuries happen that I don't know of, but either way, when they played Steelers, when Bills played Steelers, the reason the game was so low was because of the defense. The reason Josh Allen played so bad was because of the defense. And if Young and who's the other guy that's really talented, I forget his name, on Washington's front line, that they can get after Josh Allen.
Chase Young?
It's Chase Young and someone else.
Garbage this year. So far, at least.
I still think everyone knows the talent he has there. So
I guess
I could see Josh collapsing just like he did versus Steelers. That's my only worry, but I like it. I'm not saying I don't like it. I'd rather take the over than the under for sure.
Yeah, especially where they have it at.
Yeah.
All right, so you want to go into our long shot parlay, or do you want to go into our locks?
No, let's do locks last. Go on long shot parlay. You can start off.
All right, so we're going right to the long shot parlay. So in these parlays, we always got to do 1,000+ odds. So not super high likelihood of it hitting, but we're taking ones that we really like in each game, pair them together to get you that really good parlay that actually has a very good chance of hitting. So one I'm going with is I'm going with a 4-legger here. So I'm going with Kelce receptions under 7.5. Which, not to jump to my lock, but that's actually going to be my lock. So I have to put my lock in there just because I know it's a guaranteed hit, and I want that in my parlays, especially when I'm trying to put a lot together. My other one, which I spoke of earlier, the Bears plus 7.5 in the spread versus the Browns. I really like it. Again, I think they even have a chance to win this game and be the underdog and upset. Taking the over for the Bills-Washington game, over 44.5. And lastly, I'm going to put in my Tyson Williams prop bet of over 10.5 receiving yards. So you put that all together in, and FanDuel is going to get you a plus 1,026 odds. So I'm going to put 1 unit on that and hope it hits all 4 in a row. What you got?
I did this the very last minute, so I probably would have came up with something better. But for right now, I still feel very confident on this. I got Murray's over 284.5 yards. Like I said, he's hit it twice already this season. Obviously, there's only been 2 games, but he's hit it both times. And the one game was like 400 yards. Like I said, He goes on the over more when he plays shit teams, not when he plays good teams as far as offense goes and defense goes. So I like that one. Then you got Kelsey's under 88.5 yards.
Yes.
Josh talking about Derwin James. I'm going to rock with it. Add it into my big parlay. And then I got Jackson's under 27.5 pass attempts. Yeah, he just doesn't really throw that many times. I think you said, 80%?
Yeah, 87% of his games he's won, he's thrown or averaged 21 attempts.
Okay, so that's well under 27.5. So I like that one for sure, too. And then I kind of just wanted to go with the spread to just throw it in there. So I did a New Orleans Saints at +3. They are playing who now? I forget.
They are playing
easily.
It's not a great team, but it's not a bad team.
Patriots.
Yeah.
So they're playing Patriots. I don't have faith in Patriots. I still don't think Patriots are that good of a team. And I think Saints defense are them dudes, and I think they can lock down Patriots. I also think they just had a very bad week 2 as far as offense goes, and I don't think that's going to happen again. I think Alvin Kamara is going to pop out and show up again and explode. He had a very bad game, too, as well. So I just think they're going to play a lot better than they played last week. So I'm going to take that. So you got New Orleans Saints +3, Jackson under 27.5 pass attempts, not passing yards, obviously. Kelsey under 88.5 yards. Murray's over 284.5 yards.
I
that
like
gives
it, actually, now that I think about it more.
Plus 1,113. Put one unit on that. I don't know what the fuck that gives you. $100? $113?
I mean, it all depends on units.
One unit. $113.
Oh, you're saying it's 113. It's 10.1.
Oh, yeah, whatever the unit is,
it's
right?
10 times whatever unit is.
If your unit was $1.
So if your unit's $1, you'll win $10.
Right. $10? Is that all it is? Oh,
yeah, it's 10 times. Yeah.
So then it would be $10.
So pretty much if your unit's like a $10, you'll win 100. If your unit's 100, you'll win $1,000.
All right. So there you go. That's my crazy parlay. Josh, crazy parlay. You don't got to hit it. Obviously, it's just a
all right.
Toss
down to the most important bet of the week. Going into our locks.
I'm just gonna run my lock first.
Make or break.
I feel super confident in this one.
All right, let's hear it.
Also, do this lock only on DraftKings. I just realized that I took it when I was looking at it on Friday. It was at 55.5 for Tyson Williams. Is his name right?
Yep. Tyson.
Over rushing yards, I believe now it's at 56.5 on DraftKings. But on FanDuel, they have it at like 58, 59.5. So fuck FanDuel on this one. Go over to DraftKings and get Tyson Williams over 55.5 yards. I think they're going to be in the lead a lot. My man on the last 2 games only had 13 and 9 attempts, and he went over both times on 13 and 9 attempts. If anyone knows attempts with rushers, that is very, very low. Obviously, Josh has the receptions. He also is a pass catcher or pass back as well. So he can do both, but for 13 attempts, 9 attempts, that's very low. I think it's going to be on the higher side of the 13 rather than the 9. Obviously, you have Jackson running the ball. Like you said, Jackson's also ill too, but I don't think that'll play that much of a role into it. I think it's just going to be more game script that they're up and they're going to be running the ball a lot more. So I got that one at 5 units. I know my second highest one is Hunt over. I took it 3 units because I really like that, but I'm going to lock it in. Tyson Williams over 55.5 rushing yards, minus like 115, 5 units.
5 units. I like it. So just a note for everybody out there, a good app or sportsbook to use for all of our prop bets is going to be DraftKings, because they're giving away, if you opt in to their promotion, a 20% boost for every NFL game. So you can have a 20% boost for every single prop bet you make in those games. And that's almost always going to put you at the positive 100 or more odds. So almost always doubling your money. It's a great value to have every week. They've been doing it so far, so hopefully they keep doing it and you keep cashing out if you're going positive in your choices. So anyways, that's just a note, smart note. You always got to take advantage of the promotions out there. Easy way to make easy money, pretty much giving it away. So my lock of the week, I mentioned it earlier in my long shot parlay, but I'm going to take an under 7.5 receptions for Travis Kelce. We got odds of -115, and we're putting in at 5 units. So I just love Derwin James. I've always been obsessed with his play style, and since he's been back, he's been really dominating the first 2 weeks. Just for reference, Derwin James, when he's matched up against Kelce in their career, they've only had 2 matchups where they both were healthy. But when they did match up, Travis Kelce was held to 1 and 2 receptions. And in both of them, he went under 10 yards. In one of them, he actually went -2 yards. So that just shows how much of a threat Derwin James can be to Kelce. And this is in Kelce's like prime of his career. Like, I think he's definitely on the downhill. Not saying that he's bad at all. I just think he's slowly coming down with his age.
That if he's on the downhill, how high his hill is, because his downhill is still like,
oh yeah. He's still, until he leads
top tight end
the league, he's going to be the top tight end pretty much. Or he hits like maybe 36. He like starts falling off compared to the other tight ends. But with all that said, I think Derwin James is just going to lock him down and really target him throughout the whole game. And in reality, Travis Kelce hasn't hit this mark yet this year.
Which one is it? 105? What is it? How many yards is it?
No, it's actually not yards. This is his receptions.
Oh, okay.
So I think he like Kelce. The reason I didn't take his yards, even though they're really high, like in the high 80s up to 90s, is because I think he has the chance of getting that one big catch for like 30 or 40 yards. And then that just pushes it closer and closer to hitting the over for it, which he can certainly do. But with all that said, Kelce hasn't even hit these reception totals over 7.5 in the first 2 weeks. And he had way easier matchups. He had 6 and 7 receptions. So I really like it at 7.5. If it was any less, I wouldn't take it. So if it drops to 6.5, I would jump right off of it. Just because he has a really good chemistry with Mahomes, and he's going to get the targets. I just think he's going to be shadowed and really blanketed by Derwin James in this game. And Mahomes isn't going to throw too many dumb throws. He's only going to do it when what's his name has the advantage, Kelce. So with all that said, 5 units, Travis Kelce under 7.5, lock it in. It's definitely going to hit. I know I said that about the Rams. I think that was my lock last week, and it didn't hit. But in my defense, like, could you just go watch the replay of that punt, and you'll be like, okay, I'll forgive this man because that was some garbage time crap right there that I should have hit on.
Well, you took the spread on your lock last time, right?
Yeah.
See, I don't like locks with spreads, and I think that's where I screwed up last time with picking over-under. I fucking hate over-unders.
Yeah, but spreads is where you're going to get your odds.
But I'm a prop guy. I love props. So if I'm going to lock something, it's definitely with props from now on. You won't be catching me on over-unders. I'll do some spread locks, but that's only when I know the team. Like last year, I knew the Steelers inside and out. When I know the team and I started watching them more, I can start betting like, oh, this person.
Would you bet on the Steelers this week?
No, Steelers. I'm staying far away from them this whole season. Probably, I don't know what they are. To be honest, it's very hard to do, hard to tell what they're going to be because they have so much new talent. Not even talent, I'm going to say, just new players on the offense. But that's the only time I'm going to do spreads. I just like props. Props are very easy to follow. You just, like you said last 2 podcasts ago, just follow injuries and then go off of those injuries, or just follow trends, what they're going to mainly be, and then game script. If you think the game script's going to go that way and you feel like the guy can go on his over or under of that, then just take it. So that's why prop bets I like more. But
all right, so I'm gonna post up all our bets on social media between mine and Caleb's. So if you missed any of them or want to go take a piss break, just catch it on the socials and make sure you tail them.
Are we gonna put together next week how much units we each got, and then
we'll recap next week on this week's bets, and then go over from there.
I don't know if you want to talk about what we're gonna do with the spinning wheel of next week.
So next week we're just gonna introduce something. We're gonna introduce the whatever you want to call it. We haven't had a name for it yet. Maybe punishment wheel, punishment of fortune, wheel of misfortune, whatever you want to call it. But we're gonna spin that wheel for the loser and have some interesting punishments for y'all to watch and enjoy. And we're also going to have some giveaways going forward. We just want to make sure everything's organized and set up for you guys. So besides us just wanting you money, we're also going to be giving stuff away for following and sharing and liking us. You got anything else?
Nope, that's pretty much about it. We appreciate you guys joining with us week in and week out. If you haven't or if you aren't, then just share if you are, so that way more people can. We appreciate you guys.
Enjoy this amazingness.
And see you guys next time. Peace.
Late.